What's going on, everybody? In this video, I want to explore and share a higher perspective with you on this trending opinion of Elon Musk, who I'm sure most people might agree with. I myself agree with it to an extent. So let's get into it. I'm going to start off by reading the quote that I have on the screen right now. Elon Musk says, "Consenting adults should do whatever makes them happy, provided it does not harm others. But a child is not capable of consent, which is why we have laws protecting minors." So is a child capable of consent? Short answer is no, not in the way we define adult consent. But here's the real truth. A child is deeply capable of knowing what they want, what feels safe, what feels wrong, what brings joy, and what shuts them down. What they lack is the language, freedom, and power to protect that knowing. So, in a way, yes, a child can consent to what feels good, but only when the environment allows their autonomy to be honored. Most of the time, it doesn't, especially in families where the adults are still living under their own unhealed spells. Let me tell you about my brother Steve. When my brother Steve was little, he didn't like to eat very much, and my mom would abuse him, violently slamming his face into the plate because she was so frustrated that he wouldn't obey her. My brother would fall asleep on the table for hours in front of his bowl of cereal because he didn't want to eat it, and he wasn't allowed to get up until he did. So Steve put his little brain to work and learned to dump the cereal on my mom's plants until she found out, and it would become so much worse for my poor brother. What happened to my brother Steve was violence disguised as discipline. A parent demanding obedience while ignoring the child's body, hunger, and mind. That's coercion, not parenting. And the most devastating part? Steve's little act of rebellion, hiding cereal in the plants, was consent trying to find its way out. It was his magic, still alive, trying to protect him. And that is special. But what's even deeper, children like my brother become adults who often question their worth, their voice, their appetite, literally and metaphorically. They either become people pleasers, always trying to avoid being slammed into the plate, or become rage filled, holding in the scream they never got to let out. And unless someone tells them something like this, "What happened to you was not okay. You were right to resist. You were wise to hide the cereal. That was your soul refusing to be broken," they might spend their whole life thinking they were the problem. So again, as a child capable of consent, not in legal terms, but in soul terms, absolutely. Children consent to life in the ways they play, withdraw, resist, imagine, hide, and dream. But when adults punish these expressions, they teach the child that their consent is irrelevant. And that is the wound that lives on. They say a child can't consent. That's the quote on the screen right now. From a man they call a genius. A man who builds rockets and rewires currency and posts tweets from the moon. But let me tell you something. My brother was a child once. Not a theory, not a statistic. A real kid. With the face, with the body, with the stomach that didn't want to eat. And a mother that didn't ask why. She slammed his head into the plate again and again because he didn't obey. And they want to talk to me about consent. My brother didn't sign up for this. Not the trauma, not the bullying at school, not the decision to join his enemies. just to stop the pain, not the meth at 14, not the rehab at 33. He never consented to this life, but he survived it anyway. He consented to hiding cereal in a plant, to collapsing at the dinner table just to avoid more beatings, to becoming invisible because the truth was too loud to be heard. And now they say it's his fault. He needs to change, he needs to choose recovery. No. What he needs is someone to tell him that he was never the problem, that his resistance was sacred, his rebellion was wisdom, his addiction was grief in disguise. Consent? My brother gave it 1,000 times, in tears, in silence, in bruises, in hiding, but nobody listened. So don't talk to me about laws that protect minors while you ignore the homes that destroy them. Don't give me quotes about adulthood from billionaires in leather jackets when children are punished for not wanting breakfast. My brother was magic and they broke him before he could remember it. But I remember, and that means the spell is breaking. I want to speak from my own story now. There are things I can't say in detail, not because I'm ashamed, but because platforms like YouTube won't allow it. But this much I'll say. They say a child can't consent, and I understand why they say that because no child should ever be expected to. Because adults are supposed to protect innocence, not exploit it. Because there are lines no one should cross. But let me tell you something uncomfortable. I did. I was 4 and something happened to me, and I said yes. Whether it was fear, confusion, or innocence that led me to nod instead of scream, I said yes. My body didn't fight. My mind didn't know it should. My soul was waiting for someone to teach me no, but no one did. So, yes, you can teach a child to consent, but this world doesn't. It teaches obedience, it teaches silence, it teaches respect your elders no matter how twisted they are. It teaches shame, not sovereignty. Nothing is just black or white, even this topic. So, of course, a child isn't developmentally ready for certain types of interactions. But to say they can't give permission at all, ever, is not the whole truth. Because I did. I agreed. Not because I understood, not because I wanted to be harmed, but because no one had ever taught me what my yes was supposed to feel like. No one told me what my no was allowed to sound like. So, yes, a child can be trained to say yes, but they rarely get taught how to protect themselves with the real one. They taught me to obey, not to choose, to comply, not to trust my own body or spirit. So don't say children can't consent. Say the truth. They're not taught how to. They're not believed when they say no. They're not protected when they allow discomfort, when they show discomfort. They're not given the space to build real autonomy. I'm going to play a video now of a little boy who seems to be between 2 and 3. His father leans in to kiss him on the lips, and the boy pulls away. I don't kiss boys, he says. That is consent in a diaper. That's a toddler who was taught boundaries. And you know what his dad did? He respected it, laughed, nodded, and backed off. That's how we teach consent. My brother wasn't given that. I wasn't given that. We weren't taught to say no. We were taught that no would be punished, that no gets your head slammed into a plate, that no means starvation, rejection, exile, even at home. So he said yes to the bullies, yes to the meth, yes to becoming the enemy just to survive the war, because yes was the only language anyone ever rewarded. So when you say A child can't consent. Know that I agree with your heart, but your logic, it's incomplete. Because children consent all the time to being hugged or not, to play or not, to eating or not, to touch, to closeness, to quiet, to truth. The question isn't can they consent, it's do you believe in your child enough to hear their yes and respect their no? If you teach them to obey, they will obey anyone, even the devil in the family, even the predator with a smile, even the voice that says, "This is love," while violating their being. But if you teach them consent, if you let their no shape the room, then you give them a shield. And if that's not magic, then I don't know what it is.
The car. Alright, daddy man, give me a kiss.
Okay, boys.
You ain't gonna give me a kiss?
Okay, boys.
And because everything in life holds nuance, I want to share my deeper opinion on this clip. The father is trying to do the right thing, and I honor that. As I've said before, children can be taught consent. In fact, they should be. They are smart enough for it, we just don't give them enough credit. Some of you will understand what I'm about to say, some of you won't, and that's okay. This is for the ones who will. In these times, many of us have come to understand that there is nothing wrong with homosexuality, that love is love, that identity is fluid, and that shame should never be our teacher. But here's where the real guidance comes in. A child, any child, should not be kissing anyone in a romantic way. Not boys, not girls, not anyone, because they're not ready for what that kind of closeness carries. So instead of saying, boys don't kiss boys, we should be teaching, you don't need to kiss anyone right now. Your body is yours, and when you're older, you'll decide what love means to you. When a parent says boys don't kiss boys, they're not teaching boundaries, they're planting beliefs, and that belief may one day go to war with the truth inside their child. That's how fragmentation begins, because if that child grows up and realizes they do want to kiss boys, they'll now carry shame, they'll now question themselves, they'll feel broken before they ever even begin. And all of that because someone projected their discomfort instead of protecting their child's power. Let the child be whole. Teach them safety, not fear. Teach them choice, not control. Because the moment we confuse protection with programming, we stop raising free children and start manufacturing fragments. So whether or not it's okay to kiss boys, it's not the point. It never was. Because maybe one day he will want to, and that will be his truth too. We can teach children what kissing means. We can teach them about affection, boundaries, and age appropriate closeness without overriding their voice. Not that kissing boys is wrong, not that love is wrong, but the certain actions carry meanings and energies they're not ready to carry yet. So we don't punish the child for saying no. We don't correct them when they protect themselves. We don't take it personally when their spirit sets a boundary. We celebrate it, we guide it, we listen to it. Because that moment, that little no, might be the very thing that keeps them whole. If the father had taught him by saying, "That's right, no one should kiss you on the lips, and when you're older, you'll get to decide who you want to kiss," then the boy would have been empowered, not programmed. But instead, many adults respond with, "Good, that's right. Boys don't kiss boys." And just like that, a shard gets lodged in the child's consciousness. What the little boy showed in that moment was real, an embodied boundary. But what the father taught back, that's where the fracture begins. Instead of affirming his son's sovereignty, he turned it into a statement of identity. Good, boys don't kiss boys. But that's not truth, that's programming. Because the truth would have been you don't have to kiss anyone right now. Not boys, not girls, not anyone. Your body is yours, and when you're older, you'll get to choose. Love doesn't have a rule book, just consent. And that's how you raise a child. That's, a child who knows how to trust their own compass, not the shame of someone else's. Because when you say boys don't kiss boys, you're not just teaching a rule, you're planting a wound, one that might bloom later as repression, fear, or the kind of silence that breaks a life in half. So please don't take your child's no and turn it into a slogan. Don't turn sovereignty into shame. Teach them to listen inward before they ever listen outward. Because when they do, they'll always know who they are, not just who the world told them to be. If you teach them to obey, they will obey anyone, even the predator, even the peer pressure, even the voice that says this is normal, when everything inside them says it's not. But if you teach them to trust themselves, if you protect their knowing, then you've done something holy. You've raised a child who will never need to recover from the ways they were taught to love. Teach them, don't control them. Believe them, don't correct their truth. Because when you do, you don't just raise a safe child, you raise a powerful one. Otherwise, they grow up like I did, like my brother did, like many of us did, still untangling which yes was real and which one was survival.
Now, I want to get back to Elon Musk. I understand where he's coming from with the statement. His concerns are rooted in something real, the irreversible nature of medical decisions like gender affirming surgery for minors. His own child transitioned, and from what's been shared publicly, he now regrets signing off on that choice. And I agree. A child should not be allowed to make such life altering decisions before their mind and body have fully developed. But that doesn't mean a child is powerless. My brother had the right to say he was full. He had the right to say, I don't want to eat. He had the right to be heard, not punished. So, no, a child may not be ready to decide something permanent like surgery, but they are ready to have their boundaries respected. And teaching them that now is what prepares them to make the right decisions later.
I'm gonna wrap this video up with with a spell for those who use them for their own sovereign programming. This is for the ones who mistake programming for power, who call obedience wisdom, who think their life is normal because they were taught not to question it. This is for the ones ready to wake up. I've named this spell Return to Sender, and I'm going to post it on screens just so you could either screenshot it or keep it to yourself. You could either read it out loud, slowly, or just silent in your head. I call back the voice that was mine before I was told who to be. I name the spell. You are lazy. You are too much. You are not enough. You'll never make it. Be quiet. Be good. Be who I need you to be. I see it now. These weren't truths. They were scripts handed to me by those who never questioned their own. I revoked the roles I inherited, the shame I swallowed, the guilt that taught me to call cages home. I now ask, who am I without their voice in my head? Who am I when I stop mistaking fear for wisdom? Who am I when no one else is writing the story? I cast out the illusion of choice that was really just survival. I forgive myself for calling obedience peace. I break the mirror they handed me and find my reflection in the shards. I now declare, this consent is mine. This no is mine. This yes is mine. This life is mine. Everything I thought was me that came from them returned to sender, with love, with fire, with finality. I was never theirs to mold. I was never broken. I was becoming. So let it be done. The spell is broken. The soul is sovereign. The truth walks free. If you've listened this far, please consider subscribing if you enjoy exploring higher, different perspectives. Till next time, thanks for listening.